Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. HMP Stirling is a women-only prison, a brand new one. It's just an exciting new design. Unfortunately, it's not a very good design. And it actually leads to the point where the staff working there, the wardens working there, are so fearful for their own safety that it is driving a lot of them into mental health crises, and they're taking a lot of time off work with stress or sometimes with physical harm. And of course this puts even more pressure on the staff that are still at work while these others are off. This is typical of the SNP. They want it to be progressive and look at us as we're virtue signalling our move towards reducing recidivism. And that's a noble thing, that's a fine thing, reducing recidivism. But not at the cost of the health and safety of the staff, and certainly not at the cost of actually not punishing the prisoners by not locking them up. These prisons don't even have bars on the windows. They don't have too many locks and fences. They're quite open. They do beekeeping and things like that, simply because they don't want it to look like a prison. But it is a prison, and they are prisoners. They broke the law, and they must be punished. Somebody has designed a jail where the prisoners are in control. Let's look. So staff in New Scott Super Jail are refusing to work over safety fears. Insiders at HMP Stirling are reporting that dozens of staff members were off work last week with stress. Scotland's £85 million female super jail has been plunged into crisis with scared staff going off sick, says a whistleblower. Insiders at HMP Stirling claim the new facility is on its knees over warden absences. And a source told the Record dozens of prison officers were off work last weekend. This is one of the problems you have, is that in order to appear virtuous and give these prisoners the idea that, life doesn't have to be hard, you can do this and whatever, they've taken the eye off the ball and forgotten the one basic truth, that these people are still prisoners. They're still there to be punished. They're to have their freedoms removed. Prison is not a holiday camp. Prison should not be seen as a destination. Oh God, I'd love to get in HMP Stirling for a couple of weeks. I just fancy that little break away from the family, play a bit of football, do a bit of beekeeping. That's not how prison should be. They said the number of staff is so high because of the lack of safety in the place, and when issues are raised, staff are effectively being told to man up and get on with it. Seems very sexist, to be honest. Staff just don't feel safe. They feel scared and they don't feel supported. Nobody wants to work there, quite frankly. Don't blame them. If you are not having supportive management, then it's never going to work. And of course they won't have supportive management, because what happens is the management is so removed from the workforce, because the management probably don't even want to go into the prison. With a lack of security, with a lack of secure areas, and this is the way this prison has been designed, there's no heavy security. There's no way of separating people into sort of secure blocks, because all the place is open. The prisoners are running the prison. Anyway, the jail, built as a campus with no heavy security on show, opened this summer to replace Cornton Vale. It has no bars on the windows, and women can look after chickens, goats and bees, which is intended to be therapeutic. It's not a holiday camp. It's not a spa weekend. It's a prison. Lock 'em up. Let them know who's boss. The prison service said it had a person-centred and trauma-informed approach to better help rehabilitation. It won't, because the circumstances these women have come from won't change when they're released and thrown back into society. They're going back to where they came from. Any rehabilitation there isn't going to help. The only thing you can do is frighten them into not wanting to go back to prison. The jail includes a Young Offenders Institute, and it opened alongside women's community custodial units in Glasgow and Dundee, the first of their kind in the UK. These are just experimental places. They won't do any good. And now you're seeing the harm they're causing to the health and safety, including mental health and emotional health of the staff. If the staff start suing because of their trauma, then who is going to benefit from this? The Prisoners Officers Association has said it asked health and safety officials to carry out an inspection at the prison due to safety fears raised by staff. The Scottish National Committee Chair, John Kearney, said, "We're concerned about the rising levels of sickness and the information we're receiving from members about their safety. We've actioned the Health and Safety Committee to do a workplace inspection at the prison and to highlight concerns." And the Record told this month how Stirling Jail had been blasted by neighbours who said it was ruining their lives. It is quite literally next door, a wall's width away, effectively, from a housing estate where young kids will be. The Record told... Oh, we've done that. Sorry. Families living in Forth Park, that's it, and Vale Grove, near the Bridge of Allen, said they have been forced to endure daily screaming and foul language at all hours. A prison officer told the Record that these are still prisoners who have committed crimes. And when staff raise safety concerns, they're getting shot down. The message seems to be, if you can't deal with women, you're in the wrong job. That isn't actually helping the prisoners either, you know, because if they are not controlled, then they represent a danger to themselves and to each other. And so there's no authority. And without authority, you cannot have any kind of control. It will become chaotic. And it will lead to physical attacks by one prisoner or another. And without any staff there to stop it happening or safeguard the vulnerable women in there from the less vulnerable women, shall we say. This is supposed to be a world-leading facility on how to deal with females in custody. But the reality is they won't be getting the level of care and support they should be due. And the eyes of the world are watching this place because it's a new way of working and it's failing its staff. And once it becomes the reputation that it's not a good place to work, nobody will want to work there. The staff that do work there will either leave, go sick, get transfers, anything. And then the whole prison will have to shut down because it just doesn't have the ability to take on prisoners. And that's another bunch of millions of pounds down the Swanee because somebody in the government said, hey, wouldn't this be a good idea, without consulting experts or indeed locksmiths. The Scottish Prison Service would not comment on the staff absences at HMP Stirling, but said staff had excellent relationships with inmates, adding HMP and the Young Offenders Institute Stirling has a full range of appropriate risk assessments and safe systems of work, along with the standing operating procedures to support staff in all operational roles and responsibilities. Sounds like a load of old bullshit. What they're saying is, we'd like it to work, we're trying for it to work, we're hoping it'll work, but it just isn't working. And when you've got high levels of staff illness like that, you know there is a very fundamental problem. This isn't just a little problem of teething problems. There is a fundamental issue. Why are they going ill all the time? Is it all mental, stress, emotional problems? And if so, what are you doing to support it? The regime needs to change. But of course that would mean admitting that there was something wrong with it. And we know they can't admit that. Anyway, I shall round off and come up. While we have a society that we have, there's always going to be criminals and they're always going to need to be locked up. Which means we need secure prisons. Prisons where the prisoners are secure. And by secure, I don't mean just locked up. I mean safe. But also, the staff need to be safe. You cannot have a situation where the prisoners represent a threat to the prison officers. That is chaotic. That is wrong. And it sends the wrong message. And a prison like this, whilst it looks good on paper with your bees and your goats and your chickens and, you know, your football field and your basket weaving, it's still a prison. It still needs security. It still needs authority. It still needs order. And it still needs to have strong wardens who are in charge of the prisoners, not the other way round. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has sort of opened your eyes a bit and entertained you as well as informed you. And I hope it's earned a subscription and a like. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of prison. Goodbye.